This guy really fucked up. New details about the magnitude of the alleged Minnesota welfare fraud surface. Oh boy, he massively fucked up.
We're learning new details about the magnitude of Minnesota's massive welfare fraud. Federal authorities say it could total over $9 billion.
That's a lot of money.
Fraud is not small. It isn't isolated. The magnitude cannot be overstated. What we see in Minnesota is not a handful of bad actors committing crimes.
It's all bad actors.
It's a staggering industrial.
Everybody's a bad actor.
Fraud.
Yep.
It's swamping Minnesota and calling into question everything we know about our state.
But Tim Walz and his administration are pushing back, saying there was only a little bit of fraud.
What you're seeing here is you're seeing a weaponization. We'll continue to fix it. They're going to continue to come up with numbers that don't have it there, and it's sensationalized. I don't expect anything different from this administration.
The evidence that we have indicates tens of millions of dollars in fraud. There isn't a final number at this
Bro,
point.
Bro, look at him. Look at you did it, man. Just look at him. That's all you got to do. You 100% fucked up. It's so obvious. Exactly. He knows he's cooked. Look at that, guys. This is supposed to be the governor. This is embarrassing.
Dollars in fraud. There isn't a final number at this point, but we don't have evidence to suggest that level of fraud or a $9 billion number.
Jesus.
But Governor Walz can't hide from this story, as House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer is investigating the scandal and is determined to uncover the truth.
He's going to have to answer questions about the billions, not millions, not hundreds of millions, billions of dollars of fraud that we see wasted in Minnesota. And the fact that, according to state whistleblowers, state employees in Minnesota, most of whom are Democrats, they allege that they alerted both Governor Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison about this fraud, and they did nothing about it because they didn't want to offend that massive Somali population.
I think that that's true. I believe that. I do. I think that's clearly what's happening here. Is that they don't want to offend these people. They don't want to come off and be seen as racist or targeting the community. So because of that, they're just afraid of addressing it. I think that's exactly what's going on.
Guy, this to me, if there was ever an investigation to be had, and Republicans were ever going to take time to investigate anything, I would say this would probably be it. And I don't think Minnesota is where it should stop. I think Minnesota is where it should start, because I have a feeling many other states, we could probably uncover some billions with the B. But I know you and I both saw it.
Yeah, she's completely right.
About this massive welfare fraud in general and SNAP fraud. I mean, it spans a lot of different categories, right? But if you break down the numbers, I think we saw a real staggering one about how much money we're actually being robbed of in this country.
Yeah, I mean, you can go through any of the numbers, actually. Starting just in Minnesota, it seems like what we're hearing from the governor there is, oh, the Republicans are making up numbers. No, this was a federal prosecutor after a very in-depth.
Well, I mean, was it fucking, did they steal the money or not? It's fucking obvious. Like, what are we doing here?
Substantial investigation into what he called industrial scale fraud.
I think there's frauds, bad, obviously, business due to negligence. It's not like he directly handled the money. It was on his tenure. What I think happened is that I think this fraud was this is my guess. And again, I could be wrong about this, but this is the way I think these people operate, is that this fraud was consolidated around probably a majority Somalian group, and they didn't want to go after them because they thought that it would damage their relations with that community, that racial community in their area. And they were afraid of doing that because it might look bad. So basically, they probably categorized criticism and the pursuance of addressing the fraud with kid gloves or with no gloves at all. They didn't even try. And I think that's what happened. I think that and you're right that there's fraud that happens everywhere, and it's not like this is some unique thing that happened because they're Somali. Now, I think there's plenty of white people committing fraud too, but in this circumstance, I do think that's what happened, because you've seen how hard they go to try to like justify, like high levels of like welfare, and you've got the mayor there in wherever the fuck that is, Dearborn, Michigan, going out there speaking in Somalian. Like, I mean, what are we doing here? It's very obvious they're trying to court these people as voters. And I think that's the primary focus they have. That's what they're doing. It's completely niche because of the amount of scams. By no means is it an excuse. They're cowards and complicit allowing it to happen. No, I'm just explaining why I think it happened. It just seems like people are overly pissed off because it's Tim Walz and not because it actually happened. Thank you, fraud is bad. Well, the problem why they're mad at Tim Walz is, number one, like, he's well known because he just ran for vice president, and so he has a high profile. And the other reason is because Minnesota has this unique problem of a completely unassimilated culture of people that are Somalian primarily, that have a different religion. They don't speak the same language. They look different, and that does matter. Of course, people are going to notice that. And also, they want to, in a lot of cases, bring their like tribal conflicts from Somalia and make decisions for voting in America because of that. And then you listen to their translated speeches from, their language into American language, and they're more right-wing than we are, but only whenever it comes in regards to their own country. So it's interesting that they are, massive nativist nationalists whenever it comes to Somalia, but they come over to America and they want us to be this completely open democratic society where everybody's the same. Yeah, I mean, that's really what happened. I mean, and again, and their own values, they don't even reflect their own values. And not only that, but they are advocating for openly, and you even have politicians advocating for openly, racial voting. They're saying, vote for this person because I'm going to help this community of people because I'm one of you. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't think that's a good thing to do. I think it's very bad. So, yeah, I mean, that's the truth. And I don't think that any of this, by the way, is unique to Somalia. Like, this isn't like, oh, wow, Somalians are bad and they're the only ones that are bad. They're not all bad, obviously. But whenever you allow a group of people to do something like this, you have to address it for what it is, obviously. And so the fact is that it's bad no matter who's doing it. But I think that because this is a minority immigrant group, that because of that, they're receiving extra defense.
In the state of Minnesota, all presided over
liberals inviting foreign nationalists. There it is. Yep.
By Governor Tim Walz. And out of one side of his mouth, Walz is trying to say, like, oh, we're going to fix it and it's bad. Out of the other side of his mouth, he's like, well, it's really not that much. It's only tens of millions, according to his little minion there.
Oh, that's it.
And that means they are not ever going to be serious about this. They are perfectly comfortable with their taxpayers being robbed blind for political and identity reasons. And he just wants to get reelected next year.
Yeah.
So he wants to pretend like this is some sort of GOP witch hunt, when in fact, the prosecutor in this case, and we saw a bit in that clip from him. I just want to read one more quote from him, talking about why it is especially bad in Minnesota. Quote, Minnesota has become a magnet for fraud, so much so that we have developed a fraud tourism industry. People coming to our state purely to exploit and defraud its programs. Those are the
two guys, and this is happening even inside of the United States. This isn't even Somalians. It's just two guys came from Pennsylvania that did this too. It's very clearly that, like, they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Settling reality.
That's how it is.
All Minnesotans should understand. It is so bad in Minnesota that people from around the world, it seems, are traveling there to steal from taxpayers. And that's the response we're seeing from the governor.
It's like Disneyland.
Pathetic.
Joey, we invite the third world, and in return, they rob us blind. That's such a nice, generous gift they've given back to us. I mean, Tim Walz has made a big thing about, don't say it's the Somalis. But when you look at the fraud, it was done by the Somali population. So he wants to make it about race.
Well, it was never happened. The thing is that the initial criticism of the fraud was about the fraud. But then they defended the criticism of the fraud with racism accusations. So they were the ones that brought up this entire idea that, oh, you're just targeting them because they're Somalian and making up this bullshit. So the fact is that you're right, that, it's not necessarily it's racial. And like, yeah, they are there, but not like every Somalian is a scammer. Like, that's not the issue. But whenever you use a racial defense and you take the entire racial or ethnic group of people and you say that this is an attack on them, well, then that's going to make people think that it is. That's what's happening.
Let's make it about identity. The mayor there wants to eat Somali food.
Yeah, they made it themselves about identity. They did that to try to defend themselves.
Almost throw up and say, I love the Somalis. But I don't think they're understanding that we don't care because it's their race or their religion. We care because it's a group of
$9 million fucking dollars. $9 billion fucking dollars. Yeah.
People who are doing it. And to Guy's point, apparently they're doing it in a well-organized way, and they targeted this state for it.
Yeah, I don't care about their race. I do care about their country of origin. I mean, Rob O'Neill, if you don't know who he is the man who shot bin Laden. He put the book out. But before that, or after that, I'm not sure, he also was on the team that saved Captain Phillips. And he posted on X today, yeah, the Somalis are world famous for being pirates. Of course, they came here to steal and defraud us. He's like, it's a
oh, God.
part of their culture. I don't know how you call that racist. If it's true, it's true. I mean, I don't have to go back to Mogadishu to see these problems. But what I will say this when it comes to what's being said is never snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. If it's a $1 billion scam, that's huge. If it's a $500 million scam,
that's massive.
That's huge.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope Joe Thompson knows exactly what he's talking about when he uses the $9 billion number, because I don't want Tim Walz and Democrats to have an argument at all to go back.
Truth can still be racist. People talking about whether it's racist or not. I can promise you that trying to micromanage and tell people that they can't express certain opinions because you're going to call them racist, even if that opinion is accurate or people think that opinion is accurate, you can't just say that's racist and then somebody is going to be like, oh, okay, I guess I don't think that anymore. That doesn't work anymore. It's never going to work again, probably, or at least not for a long time. So you have to address the nature of the argument rather than just simply try to condemn the argument. It doesn't work anymore. You have to engage with this.
The voters and deceive them with well, they're blowing it out of proportion. It's not that big of a deal. So I hope when he says
who
$9
cares
billion,
anymore? Nobody.
He's got the paperwork
Nobody
to
cares.
prove it. Because I don't want them to
It's on
give
cool
them
down?
room
Yeah, it is.
to have a rebuttal. Because this is egregious. I mean, just so overtly egregious.
It's bad. Molly.
Yeah, and to Joey's point, the question is how quickly can they prosecute these cases, and that's going to rack up the honest total when it all gets to the end of it. And these cases can be hard to prosecute and to prove and to chase down money trails. The House Oversight Committee in this letter to Keith Ellison, the prosecutor here in this case, they make the argument that the state essentially knew that this fraud was happening and allowed it to occur.
I think
in
it's
this
true.
letter, it says a June 2024 report from the Minnesota Department of Education found that the threat of litigation and negative press from providers engaged in the fraud schemes affected how state officials use their regulatory power. A former fraud investigator in the Attorney General's office said that state regulators, especially those in the Democratic-led administration, were reluctant to take action in response to the allegations involving the Somali community. So there were concerns. So the government protecting itself is the allegation.
They didn't want to be called a name in the local or national press.
Yeah.
And
So
I think also they wanted to cover up fucking up, too. Like, I mean, there is also, like, there's the ideological reason, and then there's also the logical reason, where it's like, we don't want to get called out for fucking this up, so we're going to pretend like you're racist, so that way you can't talk about this. That's it.
Allowed their taxpayers and all of us to be robbed blind. What a Christmas tale.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey,
Oh, wow. What a Christmas tale. Yeah, I want to see these people go to jail. I do. Like, if these people allowed the money and they knew the money was going back to Somalia, what I think should happen is they should get charged for treason, because you're reallocating money from the government and you're supposed to serve the government, and you're reallocating government money to another government. I think that's treason, really. It's just that simple. And I mean, at that point, everything, it's a sanctioned country also. Yeah, I think anything's on the table, whether it be capital punishment, whether it's like, life imprisonment or anything else in between. I would totally be okay with it. And I think that's what needs to happen. It does. And unfortunately, I don't think that Trump is going to do that. I don't think that the problem is Trump likes to talk a lot about doing stuff. He doesn't like to do stuff as much as he likes to talk about it, right? So I feel visa to be revoked. Oh, no, I don't think that's enough. So, yeah. This is treason. I think it is. I do. I think it is. And yeah, it's very annoying. Would you bring back firing squads? I don't know. I don't really give a shit about how it happens, right? I have no idea. So yeah, I'll talk no action, but that's what I would do, and that's what I hope happens. But I don't think that it necessarily will. But some of these people do need to go to jail at least, right?